Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into something that literally has the potential to change lives. We're looking at the landing page and video script for a revolutionary and completely free tool called GED Math Prep with Ari. So if you, or maybe someone you know, is prepping for the GED Mathematical Reasoning Test, and you're kind of putting it off because of math anxiety, well, you're going to want to pay close attention. We're about to completely demystify this test and show you exactly how this incredible AI platform, developed by the AI Bridge Foundation, is totally transforming how adult learners conquer math. Let's get into it.
So, think you need to memorize complex formulas to pass the GED? Right off the bat, how many of us break into a cold sweat just thinking about trying to memorize the quadratic formula? Or, I don't know, figuring out the volume of a cylinder purely from memory? Unless you're building a literal silo in your backyard, probably not, right? For so many people, that assumption right there is the massive wall standing between them and their diploma. But what if I told you that assumption is completely wrong?
Okay, let's dive into this, because this is where the major stress relief begins. The big myth out there is that the GED requires complex mental math and rote memorization. But the reality? It's actually much more forgiving. They give you a formula sheet and a calculator. Seriously, you do not need to memorize these complex equations, and you definitely don't need to do difficult arithmetic in your head. The test makers really aren't trying to see if you're a human calculator. They actually give you the exact tools you might be afraid you lack.
Now, you might be wondering, if they give you the formulas and the calculator, what is the test actually measuring? Well, the real challenge is just setting up the problem correctly. It's all about logical reasoning. It's like a giant puzzle. Can you look at a real-world scenario, figure out which of those provided formulas you actually need to use, know what numbers to plug in, and then understand what your final answer means in that context? That's the skill. Honestly, that's the whole game right there.
Let's break down exactly what's on the exam. It basically splits into four main areas. Basic math is 25%. That's your fractions, decimals, order of operations, the basic building blocks. Now notice that algebra is the largest section at 55%. And look, I know the word algebra sounds intimidating to a lot of us, but as the source material points out, it's mostly just solve for x. It is incredibly manageable when you break it down. Then geometry makes up 20%. And remember, all those area and volume formulas, totally provided. Finally, data and graphs rounds it out at 20%, testing how you read charts and basic probability.
Okay, let's quickly hit the physical mechanics of the exam so you know exactly what to expect on test day. You're going to face 46 questions, and you have exactly 115 minutes to knock them out. But here's the best part. You get to use a calculator on 41 of those 46 questions. That is almost the entire test. And the magic number you're aiming for? You just need a score of 145 or higher to pass, grab that diploma, and move forward with your life.
Section 7. Meet your new coach, Ari. Knowing what's on the test is one thing, right? But how do you actually prepare for it, especially if you've been out of school for years? Well, I am absolutely thrilled to introduce you to the core of this explainer. Meet your new coach, Ari. Ari is an adaptive AI coach created by the AI Bridge Foundation, and it's designed specifically to teach you math through real-life, practical problems.
To really grasp why Ari is such a game changer, let's compare it to how we usually try to study. Traditional textbooks are, well, they're pretty rigid. They show an example, they might say something like, obviously, moving on to the next step, and if you get stuck at the back of the book, they just give you the final answer. They totally assume you already have the baseline knowledge to connect the dots. But Ari, the AI coach? Ari completely flips this script. Ari literally never says obviously. If you're stuck, Ari doesn't just hand you the answer. Instead, Ari gives you a hint, lets you try again, backs up, and maybe explains it a totally different way. It's basically infinite patience. No judgment at all, just clarity.
Let's put you in the driver's seat for a second and show you a little mini narrative of what this looks like in practice. Imagine you open Topic 1 on the landing page, which covers rational numbers. Ari greets you with a super real-world scenario. A shirt costs $40, it's 25% off. What do you pay? Now, let's say you freeze. It happens. You just aren't sure how to start.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Ari handles that freeze. Instead of just handing you the answer, Ari breaks it into precise, manageable steps, guiding you right along. Ari will ask, first, what's 25% as a decimal? You guess 0.25. Ari says, good. Now multiply that by 40 to find the discount. You calculate 10. Ari encourages you, perfect. So if the discount is $10 off a $40 shirt, and then you naturally say 30. That step-by-step coaching mechanism builds your skills from exactly where you are right now.
And Ari scales this exact personalized coaching approach across 19 critical topics that cover absolutely every single section of the GED Math test. Each of these 19 topics comes with a comprehensive materials panel. We're talking loaded with the key concepts you need, vocabulary written in plain language, not that dense academic jargon, and plenty of those step-by-step examples we just walked through. Seriously, ditching that academic jargon is a massive game changer when you're just trying to grasp the fundamentals.
Oh, and this brilliantly illustrates one of the absolutely smartest features of the whole platform. Ari knows the traps. You know, those common math pitfalls that secretly cost people valuable points? Things like forgetting to flip the inequality sign when you divide by a negative number, or a confusing perimeter with area, or maybe doing rise over run completely backwards. Ari specifically engineers questions to test whether you fall into these specific traps, making absolutely sure you train your brain to avoid them way before test day. Okay, so once you've learned a topic, you hit the Drill Me button. This is fantastic. It generates fresh, real-world practice problems exactly at the GED difficulty level. You solve the problem, and Ari checks your work. If you get it right, boom, Ari adapts and makes the next question just a little bit harder to really stretch your skills. But if you get it wrong, Ari steps right in, pinpoints exactly where the mistake happened, and guides you back on track.
Let's move to and see how this builds into real, tangible confidence. The platform actively tracks your progress across all 19 of those topics using 4 distinct levels. You start at not started, move into exploring, actually grasp the concepts in understanding, and finally, you hit exam ready. The logic here is simple but incredibly powerful. When you hit exam ready on all 19 topics, you aren't just hoping you pass. You are fully 100% prepared to pass.
There's a quote from the source material that perfectly encapsulates this entire mission. The test gives you tools. Ari teaches you how to use them. And honestly, the best part of all this? There are 0 barriers to entry here. You do not need to go buy a fancy, expensive graphing calculator, you don't need some heavy, intimidating workbook, and you definitely don't need a protractor. If you have a smartphone and an internet connection, you literally have the entire classroom right in your pocket.
Which brings us to the absolute mic drop of this explainer. The cost of this incredibly sophisticated adaptive AI coach is exactly $0. Yep, 0. The AI Bridge Foundation is a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization. They aren't trying to bait and switch you here. There's no secret premium tier. There are no hidden upsells to unlock the good stuff. The coaching is completely free. The only money you will ever spend is the standard exam fee when you actually sit down to take the test.
So, what does this all mean for you? We end with this question. Ari is ready to meet you exactly where you are. Are you ready to take the first step? Look, it really doesn't matter if math was your absolute worst subject in high school. Actually, scratch that. It doesn't matter if you've been out of a classroom for 5, 10, or even 20 years. Or if algebra looks like a completely foreign language to you right now. If you just need this one test to move forward in your career or your life, the tools are right here on this landing page, waiting for you. Sign up, start topic 1, and change your life. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and we will catch you next time.